English has to be the language for it, and that's why the emphasis on English. There is no other way you can do this, and as we'll talk about in that session, this is now undisputed. So English is become one of the most important things. Of course, science, technology, maybe next time we'll have a session on maths, because maths is a very big thing. I mean, typically when a child goes along school, the first problem starts coming when he's dealing with fractions. You've taught him 4 plus 5 is 9 and 5 plus 7 is 12, but 4 upon 5 plus 5 upon 7 is not 9 upon 12. Now, when you are able to explain to the child that when you do 4 upon 5 plus 5 upon 7, you don't make it 9 upon 12, you are coming to what I like to call a learning moment or a teachable moment. Because it is at that point of time that this cognitive conflict which exists in the mind of the child gets removed, and a good teacher removes that. Of course, for many of us, this conflict is not removed for the entire life, and we go through our life without understanding this. But that's what we are talking about, and why I'm saying this is important, and why we are particularly happy that Jackie here is here, that now we're talking learning. We're not talking curriculum, specifications, prescriptions. We're saying if every person, I will have a non-defective, high-quality thing, if every child knows and can do that 4 upon 5 plus 5 upon 7, he does not do by adding 4 and 5 and 5 and 7. And there are many such things. You apply to English, you apply to science, you apply to this thing. Creating these perfectly teachable learning moments and creating resources, evaluation, assessment, certification, qualification that endorses this is the task that we have taken upon ourselves. And that is what we are trying to do. It's obviously a long-haul task. It's a highly cooperative task. And it involves the participation of teachers. So if you look at the program, we begin by a focus on English, and we're saying international English. We're not saying Queen's English. And as I say in that session, and I found this recently, of course, at some level in British history, that actually for 300 years, England did not have a ruler who knew English. They all were rulers who knew other languages. And therefore, this Queen's English is not what we are looking at. We're looking at international English as it is now evolved into. You then have a session on teaching internationally. Because you will no longer be teaching only to students before you. If you are teaching anything which is worthwhile, then there are people all over, from Philippines to Vietnam to the new emerging Southern Sudan to Ghana, Zambia, whatever thing, and they all want to learn. And they want to learn the same things. The same things that are useful for future. They are actually doing a program. I am actually involved in a program where we are running a program on behalf of the University of Concordia at Chicago. It's called Masters in Learning Facilitation and Management. And we have a cyber group of 20 people who are, let's say, beta testing kind of people, and they range from GMT -6 to GMT +8, and these are the time zones, and we are trying to create an 18-month program where they get certified from University of Concordia. And this is the model of the future. So you can choose, this is the qualification I want. See, like it has happened in telecom, not telecom with what is it called, mobile number portability. You can say, this is my number, but this is the provider I want. So why can't I have this? Why can't I say, this is the qualification I want, this is the skill I want to learn, this is the certification I want the knowledge from there, I want the training from here, I want this particular person to do this. Have a variety of choices which are possible. It wasn't possible earlier in a pre-technology age. It wasn't possible earlier in a pre-technology age because you have to certify learning to an individual. So unless he was at that place and he was there for 3 years, and CBSE asks you to send a name 2 years in advance for people who will come to class 10 2 years later, and so on and so forth. Today we are seeing something different. There is a program which is being run in India called the Universal Identity Program, Nandan Nilekani's program, something which is called Aadhaar. When that program is successful, and I have no doubt that it will be, everybody will have a unique identity. It will be related to the biometric, and you can go anywhere, and if you put your finger there, they know that yes, this is Mr. M. Now all I need to do is to connect it to the databases. If it gets connected to my school database, I know this is what I got in University of Cambridge and Edge Butterfield Vice Chancellor, this thing. This is what I learned from University of Allahabad. This is what I learned at IIT Roorkee. But I don't have to carry these with me. And this allows this flexible qualification. So now I can be in any part of the world, or at least India, move anywhere else, take qualifications from anywhere, and all that gets into a selected database. So just like today, the Immigration and Migration Department knows to which countries you've been for how long, you would know where did you get learning for what kind of thing and so on and so forth. So that's already happening. So what are the things that are happening? We're getting universal identification, we're getting cloud computing, we're getting tablets and smartphones in the hands of people, we're getting 3G network, we're all set for doing this. What is important are teachers, providers of learning, people who will put it together. And therefore, we have the next session on international school leaving qualifications. What are the various qualifications, how we can do, and what will happen in the future. Tomorrow, we talk about competencies and skill development, because the way you learn an academic subject is reasonably different from the way you learn a skill. Some skills can also be called academic skills. So finding the square roots of a cubic equation, whether you call it skill or academic, is a matter of detail. Some people might call it skill rather than academics. But therefore you can look at skills as cognitive skills, operational skills, and behavioral skills. And you'll agree that the way the three things should be taught are going to be different. So therefore we have a special session which is talking about competencies and skills enhancement. And then we are talking about continuous professional development, because we are talking about lifelong learning, we are talking about education for life, and we are talking about external change, so lots of things have to be done. So continuous professional development has, of course, Simon Walker as the chairperson, Martin Ware, head of e-assessment, SQA, and we have Manoj Pant, who's done a very interesting experiment of talking about people who are barely high school pass or school dropouts who are working in various trades and so on, and totally neglected portion of the world. Bring them to world-class qualifications and training, and how you do that, and how you train the people to train them, because the people to train them also come from a very different background. So that's a very interesting thing that we expect. And then tomorrow post-lunch, we have a focus on management education. World over, management education is now in a big question mark. And there's a recent study of Harvard Business Schools and all the IB schools by somebody called Sanjeev Datar and others, where they try to identify what are the core things. So rethinking the MBA is something which we look at this. International Management Qualification Delivery, we are going to have from the University of Wales, Cardiff, about something that we're doing. And we have a special guest who is coming from the University of St. Gallen, and I will expect him to say a few minutes about that. I mentioned about Elinor Ostrom in the beginning, and I'm a great believer in terms of what she said and Margaret Mead said. And it's not only about women power. I mean, women power is of course important. Madame Curie is the only person in the world, and of course a woman who has won the Nobel Prize for both physics and chemistry. There are a few people who have won the Nobel Prize for both, but it's been like physics and peace or literature and something else. But for two serious disciplines, yeah. She emphasized this business about communities, and I think the only way forward is if we create learning communities, and therefore all teachers, parents, students, because as we move into the new world, each of us has to be a learner for life. For a certain thing you may know more than the others, and therefore you may impart learning. For other things you know less than the others, and you might want to learn from them. And therefore the last session we are trying to talk about creating virtual learning communities, which is now possible because this much maligned word social media is a very good platform for actually putting people together. So we are talking about concepts, we are talking about actual application in academics. In terms of what's called class. Because, see, one of the major problems and at least difficulties with Indian education is our education system all promotes individual excellence. So I got 97 and he got 95, and you know we are not talking about grading system, and all of you who are teachers or principals know that parents come, you know, my son got 96 and that got only 93, how are you putting them in the same place? So we've got this kind of a thing, which is good, but what the world needs in future is team learning, team working together, etc. The days of individual excellence are actually over in terms of contributing to society. So we've had past discoveries, we had by strokes of genius, I mentioned Newton, Einstein, etc., etc. They were individuals who were with great capabilities and therefore contributed to solving problems. Today problems are solved by teams. So if you look at the newer problems which are solved, Fermat's last theorem, you talk about many of the cryptographic solutions, including the double helix and so on and so forth, it involves a large number of people working together. And the class is once a system which helps in assessing what people have been doing as team workers. So that's something that we're talking about. We'll talk about some other communities and so on. So we've tried to put together this program. I've tried to give you some sense from this, because if you look at the discrete elements of the program, it's not always obvious that what is it that we were really wanting to do. I've taken a little longer because I think it needed that, and also at this stage people in the dais want to speak only for a short while until they come for their sessions. So once again, welcome to all of you for having joined us and helped things happen, and of course to all of you who have been here, who will learn this. I know we'll take this further because there will be future conferences and we'll actually see action. As we said, this is a call for action. It is something where using new models, new philosophies, new methods, new organizational structures of learning communities, we hope to actually transform education in the world. It looks very ambitious, but there is nothing if you are not taking a large target. After all, USA did want to put man on the moon, and they did it. So if we are looking at transforming education, working together, I'm sure we will have a possibility of doing it. So thank you once again, a warm welcome, and hope to see you during these 2 days.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pant.